Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.
Boxing King Media. It is 10:40 a.m. I've not slept. I'm guessing you've not slept, Gareth?
No, I had about 3.5 hours sleep actually, so feeling quite good.
That's a good effort, that, after a night like that. I'm just trying to think, where shall we start? I feel like I've got to start with the funniest comment I heard last night, and I'm going to start with that. Who needs to go to jail, if anybody does need to go to jail, in the words of Derek Chisora?
Definitely Spencer Brown. I've seen the video, it was very funny. I don't think Spencer realised, first of all, that Derek was ragging him, that he was sending him up. And obviously Spencer wasn't involved in the matchmaking because he doesn't manage Dillian Whyte or Moses Itauma. But for a moment, you could see Spencer looking at Derek askance from the side of his eyes, saying, "Derek, where are you going with this?" But Derek's been saying this from the very beginning, that the match shouldn't be made, because I remember interviewing him for Talk Sport like probably 5-6 weeks ago, and Derek revealed at the time that he'd been offered $2 million to fight Moses Itauma. Do you remember that? Yeah. And he said, "No way was I taking it against that kid." But yeah, it was a very, very funny video, that, and then they started to talk sense, even though Derek was saying, "I'm going to jail," and can I say this because he said it already?
Yeah.
I'm going to blame the white guy.
Yeah.
Derek playing the card as ever, playing the card as well. He's been great value all week, to be honest. We still don't know. We're no nearer knowing who his 50th fight's going to be. And you and I were talking off air here, and I'm going to jump straight into it. Dillian Whyte won't want to go out on that note. So maybe Joe Joyce is the right person for him to fight, and that's who I was thinking about overnight, and you suggested that to me as well, because Dillian won't want to go out like that.
Well, talking of that, we saw, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's the lightest Dillian Whyte's ever weighed, or maybe matched the weight.
10 years.
For 10 years, which is pretty incredible. And I think does that take away the narrative of he's took it for the payday and you knew he was going to lose? Because surely if you know all that, you just rock up and he looks like how he looked against Ebenezer Tete.
Look, it's not like he's been completely inactive. This is a guy that got knocked out, was it stopped in 7 by Tyson Fury? Was it 7 by Anthony Joshua? 6, and he was knocked out by Povetkin in an avenged defeat. No one's really beaten him up like that. I think Fury bested him very well. Yeah, I think you could see the shock on Dillian with the speed of Itauma, and Itauma has made one mistake in his career so far. He's got one thing lacking: rounds. He's done everything else right, but he's lacking rounds. You can't say that Dillian wasn't going to give his all, because he went in there, he gave his all in camp clearly to get in shape. Thought he was a bit too light in some ways, but picking over the bones of criticism here because of what's happened. 119 seconds, it's all over. But I think you have to look at the brilliance of Moses and the fact he's a prodigy, as opposed to, Derek, as opposed to Dillian being not delivering. He's just old, and he's old in heavyweight terms. And I think Moses will make everyone look old, apart from Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk at the moment. Maybe apart from Alexander Usyk, because sorry.
Well, before you move on to Usyk and what's next, the point I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you saw a post from Sonny Edwards last night. Have you seen it?
Yeah, there were rumours about
what were we saying about that?
Yeah, there were rumours about the foot all week. He didn't look like he struggled to move in the ring. He just got caught. He got that punch on the top of his head early on, and it discombobulated him. And then Moses kind of went right, boom.
What on earth does that mean?
Discombobulated. He took his balance away. And Moses just went in for the kill then. He was just precise, patient, and he just punctured him, didn't he? Punctured him with punches. He took all the air out of him, and he was truly gone. He didn't look like he was struggling to walk into the ring. Andy Lee had said about a foot injury in the week as well.
What was the actual rumour? What was the full details
Well, they
of
had
that?
some kind of foot injury in the build-up. But, you know, having a bad foot doesn't stop you punching, does it? And clearly Dillian Whyte was able to move well enough in there when they got in. It's just, you know, Moses just moved out of the way, circled away from trouble. The kid's a prodigy. He's brilliant. I've got to say this. He is the best young talent, and we may be overhyping him, but he looks like the best young talent for 2 generations of heavyweight fighters. Going back, maybe as exciting as Mike Tyson was in his era and as exciting as Muhammad Ali was in his. I'm going to say that. I'm going to put it out there.
Well, I'm going to say this, you know, I think British boxing is in an incredible, we're living in an incredible time. You got Moses, you got Hamza Shiraz, you got Dalton Smith, you've got Adam Azim, Nick Ball. There's so many fighters, and I think we're in a really, really good place.
I've been saying this for a while. People keep saying, oh, we've only got one world champion at the moment. Yeah, but we've got the light heavyweights with great matchups. We didn't mention there Callum Smith, Anthony Yard, Joshua Boatsi, Ben Whittaker coming through in that weight division, Callum Simpson, Dalton Smith, Adam Azim, Ben Whittaker, and then you look at Dubois will be back, and then hopefully we will get Joshua and Fury. Maybe we're going to get Joshua and Jake Paul. Eddie Hearn seems to be pointing towards it a lot at the moment. We've got that whole phalanx of heavyweights. So, no, it feels really healthy. You look at the cards stacking up for the rest of the year. It's brilliant.
There's a big element, and a lot of people are saying that, you know, Dillian was too old, and unfortunately, I feel like it takes a bit of shine away from Moses' performance. Can it not just be Moses is that good, and maybe he would have been the same result even if they fought 10 years ago?
I think maybe. Well, no, because Moses would have been 10, and that wouldn't have been the right thing to do, as you know. But he was watching them. That was the first fight he watched on the TV 10 years ago, was him and Joshua. That was 10 years ago, I think. And he did reveal that to a group of us last week, the week before last, about that was one of the very first fights that he watched. But if it had been Dillian 7 years ago, it still would have been... I still think Moses would have won the fight. I still think he'd have got to him. Moses will now be ranked by Ring Magazine probably at number 10 in the world. We know he's number 1 with the WBO. I think he's 2 with the WBA. 2 or 4 anyway. Look, you look at him against anyone but... Well, he's not going to fight Fury. Fury's not going to come back and fight him. Anyone but Usyk or Fury in that top 10, counting Anthony Joshua in that group as well, he's capable of beating any of them right now.
Well, we've seen Turkey's already put a tweet out saying he wants the Usyk fight. I'm not sure if he'll be able to tempt him out, but if he believes in Moses, there's a good chance he might just chuck in a massive offer. And I want to put you on the spot, Gareth. Alexander Usyk, Moses Itauma happens next. If somebody said to you right now, what do you think happens based on what you've seen of Moses? And we haven't seen a lot, not many rounds.
Well, I don't think it'll happen next, because I don't think his team will allow it. Even though Moses will probably say, yeah, I'll go for it. He's too inexperienced for Alexander Usyk right now. I think, say, if Filip Hergovic hadn't been so badly cut, I'd have said him next. Maybe Lawrence Okoli next. Maybe then Parker or Kabayel. I think he'll be a world champion. I think he'll become the second fastest champion in history by November the 26th next year and win a world title. Second to Mike Tyson. Third then will be Floyd Patterson, and fourth is Ali. Right now, I don't think he beats Alexander Usyk. I would pick Alexander Usyk to win it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Moses won that fight. But if he cleaned out Usyk right now, I do think we're watching a modern Mike Tyson. And Tyson took 28 fights to win the title against Trevor Berbick, and it was 74 rounds when he stepped in there. He'd already had, and I know Moses is a third of that in rounds, but you know, he could reign for 7-8 fights, be undisputed in 2 or 3 fights, and then run into a Bakadir Jalalov who knocks him out, or you don't know. So he'll have his time. The beginning of the Moses Itauma era was last night.
Well, either way, wrapping up on Moses, incredible talent, and I think we've got some
I could talk to you all day about him.
We could, and there's an exciting times ahead with British boxing on Moses. Moving on down the card, just a quick one on Nick Ball. There was some, not controversy, but a lot of people moaning that the cards were really wide.
They were.
How did you score it, and did the right man win?
Right, you're going to be surprised with this. It's down on paper. I scored it 6 rounds each. Yeah. I'd Nick Ball up 5-3. Goodman had a couple of good rounds. They were really close rounds. But obviously 118, 110, 117, 111. That's a 9-3 and a 10-2 split. I'm not sure about that. I mean, because Goodman had some very, very good rounds in there, and the very close rounds, there were a couple of swing rounds that I gave to Goodman. So I could have scored it 116, 112, 115, 113 to Nick Ball, but no, I didn't see Goodman winning it, but I saw both guys needing to give their all in the last round to clear the fight. I'm not surprised that Nick Ball won. I'm not arguing with the fact he won, but it was a very close fight, and I thought Goodman was excellent. And I do think Nick Ball deserves a Noya Nui fight, but I think Noya Nui wins that.
Well done to Nick Ball for keeping his title, and then we saw David Adeleye in an incredible fight. He had that crazy 1 minute where it looked like he was going to turn the tables on its head.
In the 8th round.
In the 8th round, what an incredible round that was. But before that, how did you judge his performance before that?
I've not often criticised Adam Booth, but I think they got their messaging wrong after the second round when listen, I have massive respect for Adam Booth and David before I say this. After the second round with the eye cuts, Adam said to David, just stay in the fight now. And he's not going to outbox Hergovic, I get that. Hergovic is a formidable boxer with vast experience. But I think Adam, in retrospect, might have said, go for that eye. Just go for that eye. Smash him it was the right eye, wasn't it? Go smash him. Get under his punches, get in tight, get in close, rough him up if you can. And the problem was, David, not relaxed, because that's the wrong word, but he disappeared in the fight till round 8 then, by which time Hergovic had put a lot of punches on him, boxed brilliantly. And at that point, that was when Adam delivered. I don't know if you know this, but in the corner, he said, go out there, do you fucking want this or not? You fucking wanted this fight, go out there and fucking beat him up. And David was brilliant in that 8th round. And that's what he should be been doing in the 3rd, 4th and 5th. And I reckon he could have stopped Hergovic. There were a lot of good things for David to take out of the fight. He got up after being dropped as well. It was an incredible 8th round. That barrage was extraordinary. Congratulations to Hergovic for sticking through it. And I think if Hergovic hadn't cut his eyes so badly, I think he'd be fighting Moses Itauma next.
What an incredible fight that
this
would be.
Year.
Yeah, I think you're probably
Do you agree?
right. Yeah.
I think that's why he was on the card. I think because let's say if David Adeleye had knocked out Hergovic, he'd be fighting Moses now as well, because it would have been an easy fight to make. In 2 months' time, 2.5 months' time, fight before the year's out. So, you can make sense of the chess game that's going on the card.
Definitely so, Gareth. That's it, really. I'm trying. Not much else to talk about, I think.
And if you've got questions for me, by this bad man's hand, it's a bad man with these questions. No, if you've got questions for me, we'll do another one whenever you like, when the dust has settled.
Questions or statements, Gareth?
Or
statements.
If you haven't showered, let us know. Yeah. And you know the reasoning behind that, by the way. Let me just explain. Ages ago, I had a theory, not a theory, but in the days gone by, fighters didn't used to shower in the past, and they let their natural smells take over and almost to put their opponents off. And that was the idea behind the original question that was for DILLIAN White, like many moons ago, probably, 2 years ago. and then it became a thing, and obviously Moses wasn't in on the joke. In
fact, have you seen the picture on Twitter? I saw a picture earlier. Someone's made a meme of Moses walking out the shower and you stood next to him and he's looking at you with disgust.
Oh yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me.
I'm going to find it and I'm going to put it up on the picture screen now. You've not seen it though?
Someone showed it to me briefly yesterday, and I thought, no, I was saying, no, don't show it to me, because I thought it was going to be something disgusting, but it wasn't actually. It was in decent taste. It was just funny.
Well, what I like about you, Gareth, is only you could think of a question like that if a boxer showers on a day of a fight.
What happened was, the reasoning was, I had done a piece with Anthony Joshua, because a good question is, when's the last time you have sex before you step into a ring? And I did that with Anthony Joshua for a piece in the Telegraph. I think even the day of the fight or something, and it did massive numbers based on that headline. And I was driving into that fight between Dillian and Jermaine Franklin it was at Wembley Arena, wasn't it? And I remember when I was driving in that day and parking at the Hilton, I was thinking, I need a different type of question today, and that popped up, rather than, you know, when do you leave it last to shower? Because do you want to smell really fresh and you know, and scented when you go into the ring against your opponent? No, it doesn't fucking matter, does it? So anyway, that was the reasoning behind it.
Thank you very much Thank you for explaining that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that'll be very curious to know the reasoning behind that. But yeah, appreciate your time, Gareth, and catch you back on the other side.
Indeed, let's hope we get there.
Respect isn't given, it's earned in blood.
Undisputed, the Mexican Monster Pack out now.